So once I started getting deeper into the program, somewhere along the path, I learned that we're 99% water molecules. And that blew my mind. I thought to myself, if that much of the molecules in our body are water, why are more people not talking about this? And how these molecules interact with each other, and not just the chemistry, but the physics of it and the geometric structures that's making in your body. Like, how does this happen? What's happening here?
Well, Tracy, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here. I have been wanting to have you on the podcast for a very long time. Like, ever since we met, I was like, this woman knows her shit.
Oh, you're so sweet. We had so much fun together.
We had so much fun.
We were in the glass house.
We were in the glass house.
Is that what it's called?
The invisible house?
Yeah, the invisible house.
Yeah. And I was like, I have never met someone who drinks as many drinks as me, but I think you drink more drinks than me.
I know. I was making you guys drinks like all day long.
Yeah.
Danielle and Kaylee were with us.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
But everybody like makes fun of me because they're like, do you just only drink drinks as your diet? I'm like, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's
liquid diet.
That's
like, it's
you.
the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to try some of the fabulous drinks in your book, Hydrate.
Yes.
So I'm excited to dive into all things hydration, water. I feel like, for me at least, when I hear like someone's talking about water, I kind of tend to think it's going to be a boring subject.
Yeah,
and then you start to hear people who actually know what they're talking about talk about it, and you're like, holy shit, this is like, I need to dive into this. And this is an area that I have not mastered at all, which is why I'm so excited to like learn from you. And you had been on my summit and like blew my mind with what you were saying about water and hydration. So I'm really excited for like the larger audience to hear from you. I want to start with like your background and how you got into specializing in hydration.
Well, I think like most people, we all get excited about something when we have a crucible story or a crucible moment where something comes into our lives and there's like a strong pain point. So there were a couple of those for me. One of them started when I was a child. I grew up in a migrant farm area, like where it was literally my house was surrounded by fields, strawberry and lettuce. And
where was this?
In Salinas.
Okay.
And we were crop dusted over. So, you know, when you were getting home, because you could smell the manure and the chemicals.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a child, I didn't know any different, but I did know that I felt sick and nauseous most of the time. And I couldn't understand why most of my friends wanted to be outside playing, and I loved my naps, and I loved to be inside because I didn't feel that great. So that was always just, like, I just accepted it but didn't know why. But it made me interested in health because I noticed as a child that the things that I ate impacted how I felt. So I was already, from a little kid, I would tell my mom, I don't want anything sugary, don't put syrup on my pancakes. And it was because I could tell that I didn't feel well. So I just kind of accepted that and went through life wondering why I felt that way. What I didn't realize is that obviously my methylation pathways were not that great at detoxing. So everyone's different in their methylation pathways and their DNA. So some people could maybe handle that toxic burden better than me, but I wasn't great at handling it. So thus it affected how I felt.
I mean, how many people do you think are great at handling it?
You know what? I don't know what those numbers are. Someone else who studies that would probably know better. But a lot of people do have DNA breaks in some areas in their methylation process. Mine is probably, there's a lot more.
Yeah, same.
Than some people.
Same.
Yeah, so I'm super sensitive.
Yeah.
You know, I could... For example, you know, my MTHFR, I have a couple breaks there, and it's like if I have the wrong type of B vitamins, then I'm going to be shaky and aggravated. What's going on? And I didn't know that until I found out. It changed my life. I was like, wow, these little things make such a big difference. I feel so sad for people that don't know that, because it's like people could be taking a multivitamin. Like, for example, pregnant women, they will get on a prenatal vitamin that doesn't have a fully methylated vitamin B, and a lot of people think that they're having this like hormonal crazy shifts going on, and it's actually the prenatal that they're taking that's making them sick and
That's wild.
not feel well.
Yeah.
But they're not correlating it because they got pregnant and started taking the vitamin at the same time. So, just things like that. It's like education, understanding. And I'm so grateful for social media and all of the ways that we have so much more access, but also with that, information, it's being able to discern what's true, what's not true. Yeah. So we still have a lot of studying to do with that as our own advocates for our health. But yeah, so that's kind of the way it started for me, was just feeling not great and going, what can I do about this? And then fast forward, so then I got into pre-med. I started college when I was 15 and a half and went into pre-med. I was homeschooled.
Okay.
And I had 3 younger brothers, and I was like, I need to get out of here. I can't be in this house all day long. So in 1 year, I just did all my studies. I was very dedicated. I'd wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning. My alarm would go off and would start just working. And I was so excited. I was like, I want to become a doctor someday and help people, because I know I don't feel that great, and I want to understand how I can make myself feel better and help other people that feel this way feel better too. And so that was a big motivation for me. And the cool thing was, my dad was a missionary pastor. So he had association with a lot of different organizations that gave me an opportunity to go on my first mission trip to Guatemala. And I got to spend time in an indigenous village on top of an active volcano called Aqua. It's so crazy how I started my origins with water.
Yeah. Like full
Aqua,
circle.
Right?
Yeah.
But I went there, and I remember every day in the village there would be a ceremony, and it was usually some sort of funeral procession for someone that died. And I had asked, like, why are so many people dying? And they said, because the water was contaminated. And that was interesting, because at that age, being a teenager, growing up, and you just open up the faucet and you drink water and don't think about it, I was like, wow, some people are actually getting really sick because they don't have access to clean water. And so I just thought, man, when I can, I want to come back and help these people have clean water like I do. And so that was always like in the back of my mind. Did the whole, I did like, it was a vocational mission trip where I got to shadow under a doctor for the summer, and it was so fun. It was like everything that he did, I got to shadow him. And so I learned a lot. But what I learned when I came home was the allopathic path didn't completely resonate with me personally. The vaccinations and the cutting people open, we need, like, there's a necessity for allopathic medicine, and we have great allopathic medicine here, but it wasn't resonating with the way that I wanted to help people. So I thought, oh man, maybe I'll just go into business. And I ended up finishing my degree in business communications because I was like, I don't know if I want to do allopathic medicine. Well, fast forward, I'm 24 years old. I get pregnant, and I started to have this unquenchable thirst, like to the point where all I could think about was water. No matter where I was, I'd be like, oh, my throat's starting to get dry. My eyes are starting to get dry. What's going on? I need water. And so I would just be drinking water all day long. And the more water I drank, the more dehydrated I got. I literally had a gallon of water next to my bed, and I would just be drinking. And I really had barely any amniotic fluid. I wore a size 0 jeans the whole pregnancy because I didn't have a lot of amniotic fluid. I was imbalanced.
Yeah.
And nobody could detect why this was happening. I can't even tell you how many different types of specialists I went to try to figure it out. Yeah. It wasn't gestational diabetes, which most people would think of. And it was, they couldn't figure it out. But I discovered that the different types of water I drank felt different in my body. So one of my gifts of growing up super sensitive is that I could tell little things that made me feel better or made me feel worse. And so with the water, it was like when I drank filtered water, I would get thirsty faster. Actually, almost immediately. Like when I would drink RO water, it felt like right away, I was like, this is not quenching my thirst. And then when I would go to the store and get spring water, mountain spring water, I was like, okay, this quenches a little longer. So then I wanted to drink that more. And then it led to this question of, well, why is that? Because isn't all water the same?
Yeah. No.
I mean, at that point, I didn't know, right? I'm in my young 20s. The internet wasn't at this place that it is now where you have all this access to information, and I didn't know. So I just started experimenting with drinking different types of water, putting minerals in my water. Then I started experimenting with tea, and I went to an herbal school to learn about different minerals and herbs, and just it took me down this path of wanting to understand things more. And then there was this PhD program that my girlfriend was signing up for, and she's like, Tracy, we need to do this together. And I'm like, okay. Well, this program was focusing more on energy medicine. So at that point, I was looking to go back to school to maybe go to like Bastyr University or somewhere that was more of a natural medicine. Because that desire came back to me where I was like, oh, I started out wanting to do medicine, but I didn't know there was other avenues. So maybe I'll do a naturopathic doctor or something. But then when I looked more into the program, it looked very similar to regular medicine. And it was like, maybe I don't want to do this. And this program was focusing more on energy medicine. And I was like, this is what I want to learn. So once I started getting deeper into the program, somewhere along the path, I learned that we're 99% water molecules. And that blew my mind. I thought to myself, if that much of the molecules in our body are water, why are more people not talking about this?
Yeah.
And how these molecules interact with each other, and not just the chemistry, but the physics of it and the geometric structures that's making in your body. Like, how does this happen? What's happening here? So that's where I wanted to focus. So I focused my research on understanding hydration in the body better, and it brought me down this rabbit hole where the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm on a podcast or getting interviewed, I feel so humbled because it's like, wow, there's so much that we don't know.
Yeah.
That it just makes it so exciting to wake up every single day and be connecting with new researchers and doing new research myself, experimenting. I have a little lab where I get to experiment. I just invited the world's leading researchers in understanding hydration and water, as many as I could, to a summit in April here in San Diego. And it was just like one of the most fun experiences to get everyone together from, somebody who's a PhD in like understanding the chemistry of hydrogen, and then somebody who's working with Aqua in Japan, and all different walks of life and looking at water from different perspectives, but bringing them together to have open up the conversation of how can we come together and understand things at a deeper level? What do we not know? And what can we be looking at? What are the right questions to be asking? Because I think it's not so much knowing the answers to things, but it's asking the right questions. So we were asking a lot of questions together and having a lot of fun.
It's so interesting because, hydration, water, it's like such a basic need. We know we need this for wellness, but it's something that I feel like we don't dive deep into in like more of the mainstream space. And I mean that more of like my version of mainstream, like the crunchy health and wellness, like even just like water, like, people don't go that deep. Most people just say in that space, like from what I see, not being in like the scientific community, it's like, drink RO water, put some minerals in it. But then I hear you talk and I'm like, it's like not it. It's like not it. And so I'm just curious, why do you think this is something that like we don't know more about, or it's not talked about as much?
Because it is really hard to understand. The more I was talking to Veda Austin, she's a researcher that looks at water crystallography. And she was like, Tracy, do you feel like there's some sort of consciousness in water? And I know the ancients have been asking this forever, but I was just like, yeah, I really do feel that there's so many references too in the Bible to living water and drinking of this water and never being thirsty again. And, you know, just so many parallels. I mean, why was Jesus baptized in the water and he comes out new? I know it's also something that's just for us to have like a visual representation, but I feel that there's something more. And when we do look at water, there's so many aspects to it that it really is hard to understand. And I think it'd be really ubristic of anybody to really say that, oh, I get it. I totally understand it. Because we don't.
Yeah.
It would be like me saying that I understand God.
Yeah.
It's pretty ubristic. Like, we have ideas, we can take aspects of things that our experiences and what we see, but there's so much to it that a lot of researchers just take different pieces of the water and research this piece, this aspect, and get a lot of information with that. But when you piece it all together, it's hard to really understand it. I think the more that we look at it, we definitely go, okay, now what about this aspect or that aspect? Or how do these work together and tie in together? And how does it work inside of our biological system? And what happens inside of us? Like, I think Dr. Thomas Callan, he has a great book that talks about how he thinks that one of the contributors to cancer is the cells, the structure inside the cells starting to denature and become incoherent, or I think the way he describes it is liquefying, where that structure starts to degrade because of non-native electromagnetic frequencies, toxins, toxic emotions. So our body takes the water, according to Dr. Gerald Pollack, his research says that our body takes water and starts to structure it. Every hydrophilic surface in our body starts to structure this water into what he calls easy water, like exclusion zone water or fourth phase water, which some people would call a structured water. I like to call it a coherent water. And our body does that. It's so intelligent and knows how to take water that may not be coherent or perfect for what our body needs, and our body turns it into that. But it works really hard to do that. And so inside the cytoplasm of our cells, you're going to find this structured gelatinous-like water that Gerald Pollack calls the fourth phase water, because we know water as liquid, solid, vapor, but he says there's a fourth phase. And if you look in the cells, that fourth phase is almost like a gel-like structure that's very structured and coherent. And Dr. Thomas Callan would say that when you look at that, disease starts to ensue when that starts to liquefy.
What causes that to liquefy?
Well, that would be things
like
that...
the EMFs and all that?
that is assaulting on our cells and not coherent with our body's biorhythms. So that's what he says. But it's like there's still so much research, and it makes sense what he's saying. I think about it and I'm like, wow, that really makes sense. Because think about, just not to make it too simple, because obviously it's not simple, but the cells of our cell phone, we have to plug in our cell phone to charge the cells. Why? So that they can communicate with each other and we get this information output. Our cells inside our body need to be able to communicate with each other to know what to do. And if they're having trouble communicating, we're going to get rogue cells, sick cells. The cells aren't going to be doing their job as effectively. And the water is the conduit for that connection, for that information to be able to, that charge for the cells to be able to talk to each other.
So how do we optimize all this?
I know, right? So it's like, okay, here's the bad part.
Well, and also, you know what I'll ask you, because I think this will be connected, is you see you vortexing your water, and people talk about structured water, and I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of that. And I guess, so if our body does that already, then why do we need to do it first?
That's a really good question. We don't have to, but it takes the burden off of our body having to do it.
Okay.
So when you drink water, you go to a living stream. That water is living.
Yeah.
It's vortex. It's mineralized. And your body's like, yes, this is like already exactly what my cells need. It's going into your cells. Your cells are taking it in, and it helps your body get that charge that it needs. And just, it's living water.
Yeah.
But so no one can really dispute that. If anybody's been to a living spring and they've drank it, they can feel a difference between that and opening up your tap.
Yeah.
So it's just less work and burden for your body.
Okay.
So you're going to have more energy for what? Healthier cells, more hair and skin and nail, you know, all the stuff that's like beauty stuff, but that comes from healthy organs and tissues. And so it's just, it's less work on the body.
Okay. Well, you know, I heard you say something that I was like, holy shit, that was it for me. You were saying that, you know, tasting certain water, you're just like, I don't like water. Or I think you were talking about, like, if people think they don't like the taste of water, then they probably just are having the wrong water for them.
Yeah.
And I would not drink water until I was 20 years old. Like, I would not drink plain water. I would only have, I grew up eating really poorly, so I would just drink like Gatorade and vitamin water and juice, you know, it was like that. But I would vomit if I had plain water. And so when you said that, I was like, was that just all like the type of water I was drinking?
Yeah, probably. Your mom was probably giving you some Dasani.
Yeah. I think it was just like out of the, you know, the filter, but I'm so sensitive to the taste of water. And so I'm like, what? So is that telling me about something about like me and my relationship with it? Or is that telling me the quality of that water? Like, what's going on there?
I can't tell you, but what I would assume is that it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if it's not resonating with your body, your body's going to be, we're intuitive beings, and your body's going to know, I don't really like this. It's not the best for me. I think the question that you asked is like, how do we optimize this?
Yeah.
There's different aspects. So I would like to talk about the things that you can do to your water, and then things that don't have anything to do with water directly, but greatly impact your hydration. Yeah. And that's why I wrote this book, Hydrate. I have 9 pillars of health, 9 steps and 9 different pillars that I think are really important for hydrating. And the way that I came to this conclusion was I've had a health and wellness clinic for 17 years. So I got to see a lot of patients coming in and out. And we had these amazing protocols. I mean, I spent from the time I was 15 till, you know, in my early 20s, traveling the world and being able to shadow different doctors and learn their protocols. And I was just so fascinated with health. And so when I got my clinic, I was still traveling and learning and shadowing. And there was so many, like, what really bothered me was that our biochemical systems are just so complex. I'm like, how can you take a blood test and really tell me that just because my cholesterol is high based on whoever made this standard, that it's bad? Because in my body, it may be different from someone else's body, how it's functioning. I don't know, just a question. You know, different things where it's like things didn't make sense to me. It seemed too black and white, and it felt like our bodies are so different. How do we actually tell somebody something, like a doctor telling someone, oh, you're going to pass away. You've got 3 weeks to live. How? Like, that does not make sense to me. God determines our days, right? So those questions always bothered me, and I'm a person that I really want to know. I have a lot of questions. Yeah. So whenever we'd have patients come in, we'd look at their blood. Our team would look at different aspects. And we have an EAV device, which is electroacupuncture, according to Vol, where it takes a small current that goes through your body and looks at different meridian points to see how balanced everything is in the system. And that's really fun because it can see cellular patterns. So we'd put those things together and figure out, like, okay, what's the best advice we can give this person to optimize their health? But a lot of those protocols seemed so complex. Take these supplements, do this diet, take this out. Like, it was just so much. And I just thought, not everybody's going to do this. And people would buy their supplements and then they wouldn't take them, or they just weren't following the protocol. And so I started to think, okay, if our bodies are super intelligent and it knows what to do, what's getting in the way? What are the obstacles to healing? Instead of adding something, what could we be maybe taking away or balancing in what we're already doing? So then I just started testing with different people. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to send you home with any supplements. My prescription is, like, I would ask them, what kind of water you're drinking? Oh, I don't know, something out of the refrigerator or a Brita filter. And so I'd say, okay, go get mountain spring water. Just have that delivered to your house. I don't care which one. Just pick a mountain spring water. Start drinking that. And take your shoes off, one time a day for 30 minutes and walk around. Come back a month from now and tell me how you're feeling. The changes in people's lives were so astounding.
Wow.
I could not deny it. It blew my mind. And I was like, you know what? This is what we've been needing, because so many people are suffering with their health.
Yeah.
And they don't have that many, the resources. Some people don't have the resources to spend all this money on blood tests and pills. And it made me always sad because, growing up on a mission field, I see people that don't have money. And it's like, that's not practical for somebody like that to come into a clinic of mine and be able to buy this whole protocol. How do we help everybody? So I got excited. I was like, this is something I can get on board with. So then I just started testing different things and researching more. How does our water body become more coherent? And that's how I came up with the 9 pillars of health. And then I decided to write a book on it because I thought everybody needs to hear how they already have everything they need has already been given, and how they can use that to optimize their health. And then we can do all the fun biohacking. I like to call it bioharmonizing.
I love
My
that.
whole tagline now is biohacking's out, bioharmonizing is in.
We
want to harmonize our bodies. Biohacking, what are we hacking?
Yeah.
It's like, that sounds so aggressive. And so I'm like, let's focus.
You should write a book on that.
Yeah, that's going to be the next book. Let's focus on the basics. And once you feel amazing, then you're going to want to do all the other stuff,
Totally.
maybe not. And that doesn't matter. It's just, let's focus on the things that God's already given us. So that's where that came from. I mean, sunlight is it has a huge impact on the structure of the water inside of our bodies. Huge. Not just sun alone, but the time of day that you're outside.
Okay, so what time of day do I need to go out there?
Well, Dr. Rumiana Senkova, she has a double PhD. She works out of the University of Kobe in Japan. And she coined this what we call new term of science called Aqua photomics, and it's how light impacts water structure. And she would say that in the morning, she loves this like working water, like energized water. And it's like more hydrogen bonds being broken. So there's more what she calls working water. You could just put your water out in the sunlight in the morning, and it's got different information than if you put your water out while the sun's setting. It's different information that's being put in the water. But our body is made of water too. So when you go out and look at the sunrise and get your skin and your water body exposed to the sunlight, it's going to be telling your body, giving that information that it needs for that moment. I'm awake. I need energy. You go out and you watch the sunset, that information is going, okay, it's time to start slowing down. Time to start relaxing, getting ready for bed. That's the battery, she says, where it's like you're charging up for the next day.
So can we like see this? Like you can like see it changing?
Well, with her work, you can see how the water structures are changing based on the light frequencies that are coming in. So the light is changing the water structure, and it's just so fascinating to me. I think that a lot of us sit indoors or under what I like to call fast food junk lighting.
Yeah.
Which is like taking a vitamin that's incomplete. You know, it doesn't have, first of all, incomplete and maybe not the best source. Like it's not really bioresonant. So we're sitting there all the time. Why not go outside for a little bit? Now, also, people become extreme too, right? Where it's like, sunlight's great, but how much too?
Yeah.
Like as a woman, I want to protect my skin. I don't want to be like frying the sun all day. People have different camps on what they believe, but I try to say like get a healthy dose.
Yeah.
And you'll know what that is if you're not wearing sunglasses, because sunglasses, our eyes are made of mostly water. And they are getting a message from the sun. So, like, if you don't have that filter of the sunglasses, you're going to get that message from the sun, and your body will know, I've had enough.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like, you know, this is enough. I need to go in, get some shelter. But if you have your sunglasses on, that message is not correct.
Yeah.
Because there's the filter of the sunglasses, and sometimes people can get burnt.
Yeah. I'm glad you're saying I'm like an extremist when it comes to sunglasses. I'm like so anti-sunglasses for like a lot of like more spiritual reasons. And then there's all this like science that backs it up. And I'm like, I think sunglasses are the biggest agenda. Like, give me the light codes.
They totally are. And you know what? I'm not going to like sit here and say that I don't wear sunglasses, because I do. And I know how bad they feel.
But like
they're so bad, but they're so cute too, you know? So I pick my battles.
Sometimes it's the outfit.
When I wake up in the morning, I try not to have any sunglasses. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm in my car, I'll wear them, but I already feel like the car has a bunch of windows in it where the light's being refracted and filtered anyways, and so it's not the best anyways. It's kind of not healthy.
I mean, I think all this just like it makes me think about all of these things in like different ways, and I just wonder how far we could go if everybody was really just focused on optimizing like that one thing of like hydration and like the structure of the water in your body. Like if I just focus on that, what would that do? I totally resonate with what you were saying about just with patients and their supplement protocols and these really complicated protocols. As somebody who had gone through so many of my own extreme health issues and just been on so many intense diets and supplement regimens and IVs and all my therapies, and that was my full-time job for years. And I always thought like it didn't make sense to me, and I thought, well, thank God I have access to be able to do all of this. But it's been years and years, and I'm doing everything to a T, and I am taking my 50 supplements a day.
And I still don't feel good.
And I'm still not getting better, and I'm like, it shouldn't be this complicated.
No.
And I think that about that in life in general. Like I always like say spiritually, I'm like, if the answer feels that complicated, that's not right.
It's probably
like,
not right.
It should be simple.
Yeah.
And our bodies are so complex and intelligent. I find it very hard to believe that they are not doing everything they can to like repair and fix it.
Yeah.
So I definitely resonate with that. And I think even what you were saying earlier about, you know, understanding water is like understanding God. And one of the first things I learned when I was exploring spirituality was, you know, this idea that water stores the Akashic records. And I was like, oh, that makes sense, you know, because I get my best downloads in the shower. Like I'm getting information. And then Darren Oline had come, he's been on my show a couple times, and like he had come on and was talking about, you know, you put two cups next to each other, like information from one will go into the next. And that like blew my brain, because I started to think about like, okay, there's me and there's beverages around me, and like what's transferring water to what? Like, am I influencing that, or is that influencing me?
Both.
Yeah. And then I was thinking, you know, like spiritually, it's like, yeah, charge your water. But I think that when you really understand the science of that hits a bit differently. And I'm like, if we all really were intentional with everything we eat and we drink, and we are setting intention and like, you know, shifting the information in there, and we drink that water, like how would that change our health? Yeah. Like I love the idea of like this could be a lot simpler than we make it.
I love that you're saying this, because also your audience is so intelligent and really connected with that. it's not just our physical being, but there's a spiritual aspect to us. And that's what really changed my life, is similar to you and probably a lot of the listeners here. I followed everything to a T.
Yeah.
Like as a child, I didn't feel well. And as I got older, my health issues started to compound to the point where, you know, I was having like just passing out for no reason, severe complicated migraines, nausea, like you name it. I was just a mess. And so I got scared of food because I'm like, if I eat that, does that make me sick? If I eat this, it had nothing to do with like weight, or it had to do with how I felt. Like I could not function if I ate the wrong thing. Yeah. And I couldn't figure out what was right, what was wrong. I was doing all these elimination diets similar to you, and taking supplements, going to so many doctors. You know, obviously, as I was shadowing these doctors, I'm also asking them for their protocols and how they could help me. And it just felt like, my God, I got to a point where people didn't even want to hang out with me because it's like, well, if that's not food from like a local garden, I'm probably not going to touch it. You know, and it wasn't that I was trying to be snobby. It was like literally a fear came over me. Because I knew that I would wake up the next morning with so much inflammation and headache and breakouts and whatever. Yeah,
I had the same thing.
Life
totally
became miserable. Yeah. So you become so extreme because you want to figure it out and fix it, and you want to just live a life where you're not in pain. And what changed my life, Christina, was I was doing all these things, and when I got into that PhD program and learned that I was 99% water molecules and how the frequencies around me were impacting the water body that I was, I started to think, what are the thoughts that I'm thinking and the words that I'm saying? Because those are probably having a huge impact on my whole biochemical system. So then I just did an experiment with myself. I was like, when I wake up in the morning, I want to like take inventory of my thoughts. And what I realized was that I was waking up with anxiety. And I wasn't aware of it because it was just something that became part of my life. I had 2 little children at home. I was in a marriage that was, my perception of it was making me very anxious. And so I'd wake up and my whole body was in fight or flight. So I said, okay, this is probably impacting my health in a huge way. Yeah. I'm doing all the other things that I feel like I can control, working out, eating amazing diet, you know, doing the meditation, the saunas, all the stuff, the biohacking stuff. So I said, all right, I'm going to just wake up and start my day with gratitude. And I would just thank God that I had a bed to sleep in and that my children were safe, and that I had legs to pick me up to go to the restroom, and like the simplest things. I realized there's always something to be grateful for no matter what's happening in your life. So I started to do that, and then it started to become more of a pattern throughout the day. I started to become more aware of, instead of saying, oh, I have to go do that, I think I get to go do this. You know, just shifting a little bit of the verbiage. And I noticed I started to feel better. And then all of the things that I was doing, the healthy biohacking stuff, started to work.
Wow.
And that to me got me so excited. That's when I started the whole brand Hydrate and wanted to share with the world. It's like once you have good news, you're like, I want to shout this from the rooftops. That it's not a pill that you need to take. It's everything is already within that we need. And our perception of our life and the way we see things is impacting our biological system, in my personal opinion, probably more than anything else. Yes, the non-native EMFs are not great. Yes, eating bad food's not great. But you see people that do all that and still live long lives and feel great. And I noticed a pattern with those people. We spend a lot of time in nursing homes because my dad's a pastor. And I would see a pattern of the people that were healthier. They had a positive attitude. the words they spoke were positive. The people that were really in pain, a lot of them, everything seemed to come out of their mouth was negative. I don't like the word everything. A lot of things it felt like were negative. So I don't know. You just start to ask these questions.
Yeah.
Is the way that we feel, is our health a big part of it? The way we see the world and the way that we experience, everything around us. So could cancer be trapped emotions? Could it be resentment, unforgiveness, not just of other people, but ourselves? I don't know. These are probably long time questions I know that many people have been asking, and it's something that I like to talk about because we're always being sold something. Buy this vitamin, buy this biohacking tool, whatever it is. And those things are great. I love them. I have them. You've been to my house.
Yeah.
They're awesome, but I don't think we need that to be healthy.
Yeah.
I think we get to take inventory of our thoughts and the way that we see the world. And I mean, you look in the Bible and it's always talking about praise, praise, praise. Gratitude is our greatest superpower against all forces of darkness in the world. Darkness cannot be present in pure praise.
Yeah.
Anytime you're having a bad day or you're feeling sick, you just start to use your gratitude practice. And it may be hard at first, right? Like, you got to fake it to make it. Sometimes you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't want to be grateful for these things. Then you just start, like, I use prayer. I like to pray. And sometimes I'll be angry, like, when I start to pray, like, oh, God, like, I'm so angry, but thank you for this. Thank you for that. But I just started. It's the momentum, right? It's that, like, energy of getting it going. And by the time I'm done with the prayer, it's like I'm a new person, transformed. Probably every cell in my body looks different than it did when I started. And I got to do that.
Yeah.
And nobody can ever take that away from me. I'm empowered with that thought. No matter what's happening in my life, no matter where I'm at, no one can take away my gratitude. And like, if I could leave any message today, it's not just about how you change your water chemically. We'll talk about that too. But this is the real superpower. And that's why people look at the work of Emoto. Masaru Emoto would take the water droplets and he would speak over it. The word hate, love, whatever. And he would say, this is dissonant, this is coherent. A lot of scientists don't like his work because he did cherry pick his data, and that's not scientific. But we get to thank him because he brought a lot of awareness to the fact that, whoa, these water droplets look completely different.
Yeah.
This one does look very dissonant. This one looks like this beautiful crystalline structure. What's happening here? So it left more questions for us and more to explore. So I always say start with inside.
Yeah.
How you're thinking about something. I don't always have access to the best water. So what do? I pray over it. Why do we pray over our food? Most of it's made of water.
Yeah.
Hold your hands over your food, pray over it, and I really believe it changes the structure of how it impacts my body.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I will say, this is how I found energy work, because I'm like, I am doing everything and still not healing. Yeah. It shouldn't be this complicated. There's got to be something else deeper. And then in my work with clients, when I worked in nutrition, it was all the people coming to me were that person. They're doing literally everything, over the top with their biohacks and seeing the best doctors in the world, and they're still having health issues. And I'm like, this is not, there's something else going on. And I don't know the science of it, but what I know is just my gifts I have and reading energy and reading energy fields, I've got to believe there's a correlation between when I see a stuck energy or a heavy energy in someone's energy body and the water in their body. There's got to be a connection there. And with the auric field, there has to be,
100%.
So I think it's cool how this all kind of connects. together.
It 100% does. It's like I get chills when I think about it because I get so excited to think about how we're not victims of our health anymore.
Yeah.
You and I were there. We know. I felt like a victim at one point where it's like, oh my gosh, is anyone going to have the answer? Because I just want to feel better.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't out there.
Yeah.
It was in here. And that was the long journey.
Yeah.
to figure that out. And so to be able to share this good news with other people so they don't have to go through that.
100%.
It's exciting.
So let's, like, if you're talking to somebody who's kind of in that position, we talked about, you know, the words you're telling yourself and like gratitude and kind of that, the inner world. Physiologically, like, let's start with the water piece. I want to know what advice you would give.
So kind of like we talked about how you don't have to vortex your water or get mountain spring water, but because your body is going to convert it, but it's taking more work for your body. So
let's talk ideal world.
So ideal world, what you want to do is live near a mountain spring.
Yeah.
Or some sort of living water source where the water is moving and exposed to the sunlight and the moon and different minerals, and you know, you're at the source of it. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be it.
And what would be more amazing is if you could go to different sources. Yeah. Have a jet, or maybe the jet's not the best.
Yeah.
You could teleport to those places.
We'll do that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But most of us can't. So get spring water somehow and try different spring waters to see which one resonates with you. And maybe have access to different ones that you can sip in the morning and see which one is my body resonating with. If you're really, most of your listeners are probably super intuitive and they'd have fun with that. Like, just go get some different spring waters in glass jars and sip them and hold it in your mouth and see like which one really makes my body come alive. Take that water with you. When you wake up in the morning and you're watching the sunrise, set the water out there. But before you go to bed, put it out there as well. Some people don't want to order water. Like me, I order deuterium depleted water. We can talk about that later because that's the most ideal. But that's super expensive and they can only feed, or you know, like 2,000 people in the U.S. right now. So
this is, we're at Joshua Tree. It's like between you and Kaylee, I'm like, so you guys have cases of this water, we've got vortexes out. I'm like, what is happening? Like,
oh yeah, that water has changed my life. Anyways, let's talk about what most people can do. So if you don't want to buy spring water, you can mimic nature at home.
Okay.
What does nature do? Nature is mineralizing, moving, putting, you know, light energy into the water. So what I like to do is take tap water, because that's the source that we have at home, and filter it, because there is caustic, toxic contamination in most of our tap water. And the easiest and probably most cost-effective way to do that is reverse osmosis. They've got some good systems now that are very inexpensive. You can put under your sink. So you got that chemical part dealt with. But now that water has gone through all of these membranes that have changed the structure of it, which a lot of people would say it's incoherent. Also, it's taking out the minerals out of the water. And what is an electrolyte? It's minerals in a liquid solution. So that water's not electrolytic anymore. Your body's going to have to pull minerals from your system to get that water to be exactly bioresonant with what your cells need.
Wow.
Okay, so it's going to happen. It's not that it won't happen, but it's just taking more out of your body.
Wow.
So what we want to do is think about, okay, well, what kind of minerals is our body made out of? We probably evolved from the ocean. So we want to have all of those elements that are
mermaid
that make who we are. Yeah, mermaid water. So now that we've filtered the water, we want to add minerals that are complete and in the right ratios. So that's usually a really good source of seawater. Add a little bit of that in. And then what does water need to be doing? Moving, vortexing. What Gerald Pollack would say is that water holds so much information, maybe even 1 billion times more than our computers, our cell phones, the cells that those are made out of. So if that's true, what information is that water holding when it on its journey to get to you, coming in contact with pharmaceuticals, all those things? You may have cleansed out the chemical contamination, but the physical contamination is still there. The memory of it, the way the water is structured. Now, it went through a membrane, so we don't know. Is it carrying the information of that membrane and everything before? We don't know that yet.
Yeah.
But what we do know is it's not the information that our body is resonant with. So we want to vortex it, and a lot of vortexing devices that I have and share with others uses a type of vortexing that vortexing is meant to really delete the information. Think about it kind of like a scalar machine, like it's vortexing, deleting what shouldn't be on there, throwing out the bad, and somehow bringing in the good.
Yeah.
Which that too, we still don't understand how it does that or why, but we know it does. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So try that water next to your tap water, and you tell me how you feel. Experiment with yourself. But hands down, every single person, I haven't had one person say that they don't feel better, different.
Oh, yeah.
So when we were in the desert, we were vortexing the water, and you're trying that, and we needed to drink less water.
Yeah.
Why? Because our bodies were more efficient. The water we were drinking was able to get directly into the cells. Our body was able to utilize it, didn't have to work as hard. So we don't have to drink as much.
Yeah. It was wild to me, like, tasting the difference. I'm like, what are these girls over there doing with their freaking spinny water? You know, it's like
the spinny water,
the spinny water. I'm like, what's going on? But it tastes so different. And I think I was also like, everything, all the drinks we had, like the drinks you were making, I felt like full.
Yeah.
Like not like full, like, oh, I had a heavy meal,
like
but
you
just
didn't need to
like
eat.
satiated. Yeah, like I didn't need to eat. I was like, that just satisfied me.
Well, that's the funny part is like my brother, he's a comedian.
Yeah.
And he'll come over to my house and he's like, what are we going to have tonight? Elixirs? You know, he's like, every time I come over to your house, there's no food. There's just elixirs. Now that has changed recently because I've been working out with heavy weights the last year. And my boyfriend's like, really heavy on, like, you gotta eat your protein. What's in the refrigerator? We need to have some meat. So I've been really working on that. But before that, it was like, I didn't feel like I needed to eat. I just, because I was getting so much nutrition from the smoothies and the elixirs, and I just felt high and light, high in a good way, like high on life.
Totally.
Just amazing.
Well, it's like the classic, you know, a lot of people overeat because they're dehydrated. Like they just haven't had enough water. But then even when we drink enough water, which I guess we could probably talk about too, what that means, we're still dehydrated.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, I know if I'm not, I have a lot of the Quinton.
The Quinton,
yeah, those. I don't know how you pronounce it. I have so much of those, and if I don't, I'm just so dehydrated all day. So I think, I mean, it makes sense to me where it's like we're actually having proper water that can hydrate the body. I'm not that hungry. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because that all comes from the same place in our brain. Our hypothalamus is like thirst, hunger. Yeah. Those things are very similar. A lot of people on Ozempic, that's a huge thing. They're not only are they not hungry, but they're not thirsty. And so we've got a lot of issues with dehydration now because that part of the brain is not tuned in.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, so back to, let's say someone has an RO. They're adding in minerals to that. And then ideally like a vortex device.
Yeah, vortexer. So I can send you a link of somebody that can send the whole kit. So I worked with a company that puts the kit together so you don't have to think about it.
Cool.
So it comes with an RO, sea minerals, and vortexer all in one. So you just open up your faucet and it's like spring water coming out. Yeah. So that's what I have at my house. And people love to come to my house and have the water. They're like, can we have have some hydrating water, and it's just so fun.
So if somebody doesn't have like the Vortexer, does just swirling your water help? Or like, let's say you're out and you're drinking a beverage, like, you know, living your life, like what could you do if you're not in that optimal situation?
Absolutely. You can swirl your water. I was talking to Professor Sankova, and she tests through looking at the structure of water, and she said that when you stir the water, it does bring coherence into the water. Okay. So, yeah, there's different levels of how that bonding happens, and, you know, if you have a good Vortexer, it'll last longer. But, yeah, there's something for everybody. Yeah. If you don't have, you know, the resources to buy a Vortexer, spin your water with a spoon, put some good intentions into it. Yeah. Thank God for it.
Yeah. What about for like minerals? Like, what's your top rec? Is sea salt enough?
So sea salts are very different. The way that they're processed and where they're sourced from. So you can't just say, oh, sea salt is the answer, because a lot of sea salts too, they have heavy metals, contamination. Our ocean's very contaminated. So there is a company that I love to use, Baja Gold salt. Theirs is really clean, and if you go to their website, you can see exactly the minerals that are in it, the profile, and anything that's in it. They sun dry it.
Love it.
And so it tastes good too. Like, it's delicious. So I'll put a little bit of that in my water. Okay. Depending on the time of the day. In the morning, I like to put quite a bit of salt just as a diuretic. Yeah. Just to kind of do a flush. And then you don't need as much throughout the day, because if you have too many minerals in your water, that can also slow things down and make you feel more dehydrated. So Professor Sankova was saying this to me the other day. We were talking about minerals, and it's like how much. So too much, there is too much as well. Yeah.
How would you know if you have too much?
Well, you're probably going to feel dehydrated because it may be flushing or causing too much, not as much working water, where the water's it's not in resonance with your biological system. So our fluid body did probably evolve from the ocean, and René Quinton discovered in 1895 the body's plasma, our plasma, is identical to the ocean's plasma, but in a specific dilution, right? So he has two types. He has the hypertonic and the isotonic. The hypertonic is just the concentrated seawater, which is not what our blood plasma is. It has the same profile, but not at that concentration. Okay. The isotonic, he mixed with spring water. So there's spring water and a little bit of the seawater in the perfect concentration of what our blood plasma should be. Okay. So you can use that, and in some clinics, they'll, like in France and Mexico, you can actually get IVs of the Quinton isotonic.
Oh, wow.
I've gone to France and gotten it. I've also gone to Mexico. There's this treatment called percutaneous hydrotomy, where people that are having back issues or spinal issues, they can inject the isotonic solution into your back and actually help those dehydrated tissues become hydrated again, which is going to make you more fluid. Yeah. I had torn a ligament in my foot and went to a clinic in Mexico where they did the percutaneous hydrotomy in my foot, and it was completely different foot afterwards. Before it was tight, and I would wake up in pain, and it was just inflamed. And I went for 2 weeks, had session. I can't remember how many sessions I had, but it was consistent sessions. And afterwards, there was no pain. This is 3 years ago. Haven't felt it since.
Wow. It is like crazy, but also such a duh moment in terms of how like proper hydration can like fix everything.
It really is. I mean, like, think about scar tissue. What is scar tissue? It's really just dehydrated tissue that isn't, like, the information isn't flowing. You know, the chi energy there's a blockage. Yeah. And a lot of toxins build up there. It's dehydrated. Nutrition isn't able to get there as well. And so It's just a different type of tissue. So if you hydrate it, like my cesarean scar, I had 2 cesareans, I will inject the isotonic solution into the cesarean scar. And
wow.
It's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not recommending this. I'm not a medical doctor,
Yeah.
so I can't recommend it. But it is a sterile solution that can be used that
Wow.
way.
Okay. So what do you think about, like, if people are like, how much water should I be drinking? Mm-hmm. How would you answer that?
I mean, first of all, I'm not God, so I can't say, like, this is how much water. It's different for even me every day. I think becoming more intuitive is more of the answer. Like, how do we ask the right questions to our own body? Because some days I'll go to hot yoga. Some days I go in the sauna. Mm-hmm. Some days I'm at the gym. Some days I'm eating bread, which is more dehydrating. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, that my diet's going to be different. So depending on what I've eaten, you know, if I'm on one of those kicks where I'm having elixirs all day and,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, getting my sunlight and grounding and doing all the things, my body makes water. Our cells mm-hmm. make water every day. Yeah. From the hydrogen that's in our body and the oxygen that's coming mm-hmm. in, it's coming together, and our cells are making water. So if I'm really efficient, my cells are going to make more water. Mm. If I'm not as healthy and doing all the things of getting the sunlight, movement, breath work, I'm probably not going to make as much water. So it just depends. So I say try for 2 to 3 liters, like a minimum, mm-hmm. and just see how your body feels with the different waters you're starting to drink. As you start to vortex water, drink spring water, you might notice you don't need to drink as much water as you did when you were drinking out of the Brita filter. Yeah. Start to play. Okay. Start to get creative. Start to ask your body those questions. Do I need more? But the key is becoming more in tune and aware. Mm-hmm. A lot of time we're not aware. Just like you mentioned, a lot of time you think you're thirsty, but you're hungry, but you're actually thirsty. There was a Harvard study that, I'm probably going to botch this, but they were testing to see, like, nighttime hunger. And they said, okay, let's see if you drink 8 ounces of water instead of eating before you go to bed, will it satiate your hunger? And I'm pretty sure it was like almost everyone in the test group didn't need to eat. They thought they were hungry until they drank 8 ounces of water. So next time you're hungry, maybe just drink some water. Yeah. And see how you feel. Or how many times do you feel thirsty and instead you reach for an energy drink mm-hmm. or a latte or I don't know. I mean, look at these places like Starbucks and Better Buzz. I walked in with one, you know, green tea. They're busy and making a lot of money for a reason because they're capitalizing on our thirst. Yeah, yeah.
Does coffee actually dehydrate? I've heard different people say different things.
It is a diuretic by nature, but your body can balance out. I mean, so yes, it's a diuretic, but you know, you just want to drink more water and get your body into a homeostasis. Mm-hmm. So if you're drinking coffee every day, then you just need to figure out how much water you need to drink. But mm-hmm. yes, it is a diuretic. So is any caffeine, like green tea. And I mean, I love green tea for its antioxidant effects, and the L-theanine in there really mm-hmm. makes my body just have that really good mood. I'm just obsessed with matcha. But I do notice a difference in how my skin looks when I don't have it. It does look different. Maybe that's not for everybody, but for me personally, yes. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I believe that. I feel like people who don't drink coffee like look
better.
Way younger.
I shouldn't say better. That's not. Well, your skin does have a glow to it. Yeah. I met this woman recently, and she said she never drinks water. She drinks coffee all day. And
all day?
Yeah, just like all day.
Wow.
She's drinking coffee, and she said she's been doing that for years. Because she said water is in coffee, right? Which mm-hmm. is true. It's completely different. Yeah. How your kidneys have to filter it and process it as opposed to having pure water. Mm-hmm. But her skin, you know, and she would admit it. She said that her skin shows it. Yeah. And from my perspective, it did. It didn't look the way that it probably could if she was drinking water. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe we don't need to be buying all these beauty creams. Yes, they're amazing. Yes, I have them, but we can, maybe just be drinking good water and look better too.
I am curious your nutrition philosophy.
Oh boy.
I know
you're getting into some polarizing
Well, I know
topics.
that you're like me where you've tried everything. Like I have tried literally everything. And I know that you've been on different sides of the spectrum as well. And so I'm curious from your vantage point now, like
I've tried everything that I could possibly come in contact with and have awareness of.
Yeah.
If I've been aware of it, I tried it.
Yeah.
Well, I was raw vegan for 3 years, and the interesting thing about that was the worst I ever felt. I'm also O positive blood type.
Same.
So I just was
same.
So tired.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need a nap.
Yeah.
And I look at photos of myself from back then, and I was just gaunt, and my skin didn't have that color, even though I was eating antioxidants all day. I feel personally like I was missing something. It's a religion to people. You know this, Christina. Like, you talk about it, and people can get so angry.
I know.
And I personally don't feel like this isn't my specialty, so I don't, even though I've tried all these things and studied it, I went to nutrition school.
Well, I'm asking from your perspective for your body. Let's just talk about you. What works for you? How do you feel with that balance?
What I have come to realize is that every day is different for me.
Yeah.
Based on my cycle, based on how much I'm working out. So there are days where I will eat a steak and potatoes, and there are days where I just want to eat smoothies all day. So it's hard to say.
I mean, I love that.
Because I really just listen to my body, and I feel like it's very intelligent. When I don't listen to it, that's when I suffer. When I listen to what other people say, people around me, you need to eat this, you need to eat that. And I'll be like, okay, fine, I'll eat it. But I don't feel it's great. So, I think for women, the cycle really matters.
Yeah.
Getting more in tune with your body. Once you get hydrated, you have that intuition. Water is the conduit for the electrical impulses in your body, the information being sent. So if you want your cells to communicate and be able to tell you what you need, drink more water. Get hydrated. And then your body's going to be super in tune. Like, you know what? That doesn't really sound good.
Yeah.
And I have gotten past for the most part, most of my cravings. I am one of those people, you could put ice cream in front of me, cake, pizza.
Well, you're satiated.
It doesn't even look good if I'm not truly hungry.
Yeah.
It took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
I used to really have to be super conscious and tell myself, okay, I'm not going to eat that because, things look really good. But what I started to tell myself is not the message of I can't have that. Instead, I would say I can eat that. But first, let me feed my cells with the things that it needs. Like, for example, say I wanted an ice cream sandwich. I'll say, no problem, I can have that. But let me eat this apple first because that's sweet and I might be craving something sweet. But my body needs 2 things in order to turn off this hunger signal. It needs some fiber and it needs adequate nutrition.
Yeah.
Well, actually 3, and hydration. So if I have all of those, chances are I'm not going to want that ice cream unless there's something in it that my body really needs. 9.8 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, I never wanted the thing after I ate the fruit. Or, whatever the nutritionally dense food was.
Yeah.
So I think that was a way that I kind of tricked my body into, I shouldn't say tricked it, but trained my body into looking at food differently is like fuel. Because I love my job, I love what I do, I love my life, and I just want more fuel, more energy, more excitement. I want to live every moment feeling my best so I can show up my best. So I look at food that way, and there's a lot of food that's low vibrational, that's not nutrition dense, but calorie dense. And I look at that and go, there's a lot of sugar in there, a lot of processed sugar, which is also going to add to glycation. I just came out with a supplement line because I was like, the biggest thing that I see with people these days is digestion.
Yeah.
And we're eating a lot of processed foods that are causing a lot of glycation, which is premature aging in the skin. It's like basically oxidizing the body. And we don't want that. Mm-hmm. So if we look at food from these perspectives, we're going to have, I guess, we're going to make different choices. So right now, my biggest thing is making sure that I love berries. Okay, berries are huge. Now you see like on TikTok and all these like Instagram now, like, oh, they have worms and all this. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, it's like huge. Like people are trying to scare you from any type of food, but there's like
I've been
worms
down that
and parasites and stuff.
Yeah.
And it is true. I have a garden of strawberries and these black worms started to come out of it, but that's okay. You just take those and put them in a tiny bit of vinegar and baking soda and just let them soak. Okay, so that solves the problem. But I love berries. They're low glycemic, high in antioxidants, and very hydrating.
Okay.
So I'm all for that. I'm doing a lot of yogurt now because that's high in protein, like 9 grams of protein with this Bulgarian or Greek yogurt that I have per cup. So we'll have that in the morning with some berries and some like raw honey. Maybe sprinkle a little matcha on there.
There you go.
And then I make my own pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds have a lot of protein. I think those are about 9 grams a serving as well, or cup. And I take raw pumpkin seeds. I will put them in a spring water for like 6 to 8 hours and then rinse them. And then coat them with the Baja Gold salt and then dehydrate them. Those babies are
amazing.
Fire.
Oh my God.
So good.
You have to make me those.
Yes, I will. They're a gift.
Yes.
So you can, and then I sprinkled those on my yogurt in the morning with berries and matcha, raw honey. It's just delicious. So that's become a staple for me lately. And then, I've been going to the farmer's market to get my meats. And so I've been getting turkey, like a big turkey breast. And I'll put a bunch of herbs on it, bake it, and then cut it up into turkey slices. Because I was starting to get grossed out by even the organic conventional turkey slices.
Yeah.
They're in like plastic.
I know.
I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. So I'm going to go to the farmer's market and just make my own. And so I've been slicing that up. Yeah, it's so good. I put it in salads now. I just will take, a couple of slices to go. And then sweet potatoes have become a big staple because we need to get complex carbs, but rice has a lot of contamination. So if I'm going to have rice, I'll soak it, rinse it. But I've been doing Japanese sweet potatoes. Just
so good.
Put those in the oven, chop them up, have that, make a stuffed potato or something. And like I don't have a religion with eating. Like you, I've tried everything I can think of and been so extreme that I've learned extreme is not the way to go. That didn't work for me. Yeah. Maybe you have to be at certain times in your life for whatever reasons, but for me, that's not working long term. Yeah. So I'm just more of an intuitive eater, try to get the best sourced food that I can, support local farms, support local ranches. I mean, like when you think about energy and stuff, I don't want to be eating an animal that wasn't treated right. Yeah. I mean, the circle of life, right? It's like, okay, if I'm going to eat beef and all these things, I want to make sure that it had a good life and it was killed well.
Oh, yeah. You can feel that in your body.
You can feel it,
can totally
right?
feel it in your body. Yeah.
And also, this is a good tip for people. I'm very sensitive to corn. Like, I eat corn even touches something and I'll just get super inflamed. So I started thinking about all the animals that eat corn. Yeah. Hens eat corn and they're laying eggs, and then I was getting inflamed from the eggs. A lot of people get inflamed from egg whites.
Yeah, that's very
Could
true.
it be the corn? Could it be all the GMO that they're eating? And then cows, chickens, like all the animals that eat corn and grain. So I started to try to find ones that were grass-fed, grass-finished, and then hens that don't eat corn. Yeah. Huge difference in the inflammation of my body.
Yeah, totally. I love this. I mean, I think for me, living in all the extremes has helped me like find the good parts of each and kind of like, and to be able to know what I need, you know, like, because I think I needed to go through that experimentation to like, to be able to tell, you know? So like living in that extreme never fully worked, but I learned something from it that then like helped me apply, you know, now. I want to know, like, as we wrap up here, what are some of your other favorite, like when we think about, like anti-aging, overall wellness, like what are your other top favorite like lifestyle practices that are important in your life? Because I know you do a lot of cool things.
Oh gosh, there's so many fun things. What we talked about originally, like the mindset, that's my number one. Number one. Number two is hydration, just taking care of my water body and following these 9 pillars that are just nature, really. And then as far as like a product that I take every single day is berberine to help with blood sugar balance and pathogens and, you know, just digestion. That was part of the supplement line I came out with because I really feel like berberine helps with managing glycation in the body. And there's just so much glycation to be had in this world.
Yeah, it's true. So true.
Yeah, so that's a big one for me. And walking. I think walking is huge. Moving your body in some way. I was talking to Professor Senkova about that, and she did some research on our water body and how you can see when you do the Wisner infrared spectra on the body before working out and after, the water body changes.
Wow.
In a positive way. So she said every day you should be moving your body.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like going for a walk. I call them prayer walks. I go for a walk at night. I love to do my sunset walks. I live on Sunset Cliffs, and I love to turn on some good music and just pray. Like, thank God for the day, all the abundance in my life, all the things that I want. I don't ask for it. I thank God that he put it on my heart and that I get to have the opportunity to go for it.
Yeah.
And then just ask for the abundance and the wisdom and the direction and the energy to go. And I live in that frequency that it's already done.
Yeah.
It's done in heaven and it's done on earth. And I'm just like excited about it.
I absolutely love that. And it like, I mean, it shines through you, like your gratitude, like you just glow, you know? I remember when I first met you, I was like, I don't know what she's doing, but I need to find out. I was like, give me all of your drinks. Like, that'll like give me that glow, you know? So I love that so much. I am so excited for people to get their hands on this.
Yay.
Tell me your top like 1 to 3 drinks.
Oh, boy. Okay. So the one that I made for you, the hot chocolate elixir.
So good.
That one.
So good.
My favorite time to have it is actually in the morning.
Okay.
I love something like super decadent when I wake up in the morning.
Same.
And,
I'm the same.
you know, a lot of people like to have coffee, like that warm. I like a warm drink. And so I'll do the hot chocolate elixir. And then I would say the feel good elixir. So there's the hot chocolate, and I make my own marshmallows too. So they're just like, you know, totally collagen rich marshmallows. And then the cream dreams. There's 3 different cream dreams in here, but when I was a kid, I used to go to this place that sold Orange Julius's and super toxic, like, but so delicious. But I would feel sick every time I had them. So I wanted to recreate something that gave me that feeling, but was really good. The whole point of all these elixirs is to hydrate you and to nourish your body and to feel good while you're doing it, like to enjoy it.
Totally.
So the way this book actually came out was I, during COVID, started throwing parties. Everyone was shutting down, and I was like, community is immunity, and we need to be together, and we need hope. And we need nutrition, and we need each other. So I started throwing these parties, and I don't serve alcohol in my house. I don't have anything against it if someone else wants to do it, but personally, I don't feel good when I have it. Yeah. So I don't serve it at my parties because I'm like, if it doesn't make me feel good, then it's probably not going to make others feel good, and it's so not on brand. So what can I do? So I started making these drinks that had, from when I went to herbal school, like synergistically blending different herbs together that tasted good but make people feel good. So different feelings with different herbal blends. And people are jumping off the walls. I have all these toys in my house, like have an adult tree house and trampolines and balance beams. And, you know, you come there and you're going to, you know, all the stuff. So people are just playing, laughing, connecting. And like, what did you put in this drink? I have so much energy. And I'm like, it's just because your body is fed, you're nourished, your cells are talking to each other. You feel good. Yeah. And that was like a concept for people. So many people started asking me, what's in this drink? I want it. And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm an intuitive person. So I was just throwing stuff in and I didn't know. And luckily at the time, my assistant was like, Tracy, just make something and I'll sit next to you and eyeball it. So it started out with the eyeballing. And then, you know, obviously we had to break it down and do a test kitchen and test everything, make sure. But yeah, that's the way the book was born.
I love that so much. I mean, I wish I knew you when you were throwing those parties in COVID, because I could have used that.
Well, we're going to throw a party together.
Oh, yeah, we need to.
We're going to have a party together.
And we'll have epic drinks, of course.
For sure. We're going to make a Christina Rice drink.
Oh, hell yeah. I will happily taste test for that.
What's your, like, tell me what, so I can start working on it. What type of drinks do you like?
Oh, I mean, I could go like two directions. I love a like chocolatey, like a rosy, chocolatey, like
that's the
rich.
Female one. There's a feminine drink in here that has Damiana, rose, chocolate. Oh, okay, that's this for me. This one activates your feminine essence so much.
Okay, I love that. Okay, that's for me. Like either that direction or like a very like tart, like I'm a color girl, you know, so it's got to be like, it's like bright, like pinkish, or like it's like, I need a tart, like
a sweet tart, or just tart?
A sweet tart.
So there's like different layers to it.
Yeah,
sweet and tart. Okay, we can make that happen.
Yeah, so something like that. We can play with it. Though.
Yeah, let's do it. So we'll have you come over and we'll do a test kitchen.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
We'll do it live. That's when we have the party. And everyone comes over. We can do the test kitchen together and then have people test it live.
Oh yeah.
See if they like it.
Okay, I love this. I cannot wait for that, and I can't wait to make all of these. The ones that we had in Joshua Tree were so good. Yeah. So where can people get this book, and where can they connect more with you?
Okay, so I have the book right now exclusively on my website. Okay. So you can't get it anywhere except tracyduhs.com. And they can connect with me on my website or on Instagram. My handle is Tracy Duhs, TracyDuhs.
Perfect. We'll put all the links in the show notes. This was amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.